Yesterday, I actually um, an older crawl space, but it had a brand new like vapor barrier around it and everything. And I was like, okay, somebody was just in here a couple days ago. So like all the spider webs are gone. Hopefully there's not any rodents happening. So I always love when like somebody goes in before me. Sometimes my pest guy will go in before me. So that's always nice. But yeah, I wasn't really expecting much, but as I turned the corner, I saw like a very baby copperhead, just like
Ooh.
coiled up right on top of the vapor barrier, right in front of the furnace. So I was like, oh, this is great. I have to.
Welcome to another episode of the Dre and Smiley, the Inner Circle podcast.
So, Smiley, man, I'm always excited to have great guests that are interesting. Both you and I have bought a number of homes, right? How many times have you purchased a home and then after you get in there, you're like, what in the world is this? Like, who built this, right? New or old? And you wonder, like, how did it pass inspection? Who lived here before you? That type of thing. So today's guest is a home inspector. I'm going to start the podcast off with some feedback that someone left for her online to give you a sense of the type of home inspector Bailey is. So this review reads, Bailey recently performed an inspection for our prospective home. She was very thorough in her service. She reviewed the final report with my buyer's agent and me simultaneously. She was professional, super thorough, very clear, well-spoken while explaining her findings to us. And she was polite. Her prices are extremely reasonable. And this reviewer says, save yourself some time doing the research and avoid the headaches and just go with Bailey. So with that, Bailey McHugh, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so, in different industries, it's hard to find someone who really enjoys what they do and do it well, right? Whether it's a building inspector or whatever. You clearly, based on this review, do what you do well. So let's start from the beginning. How did this come about? Did you come out of the womb thinking, you know what, I'm going to be a home inspector when I grow up?
It's kind of a crazy random story. I mean, I never in a million years obviously thought that I was going to be a home inspector, more or less even running my own business. It's definitely been a whirlwind, and I'm a huge believer in everything just happens for a reason. So wild and as crazy as it is, I know I'm exactly where I need to be. I used to be a flight attendant for your airline at college. So when I graduated college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew was that terrified of being behind a desk and in corporate America. And of course, I was in corporate America, but not really chained to a desk. So I kind of just went with flying because I felt like I could obviously just travel, have flexibility, and I'd be constantly moving and not feeling like I'd be stuck in an office. I did that for about 6 years, of course, until COVID happened. And when COVID happened, I got furloughed from airline, and I was kind of just sitting around doing nothing. They were offering voluntary leaves, so I took those every chance I could get to be flying during that mess. So I'm a pretty hostile environment pretty quickly, and it was not getting paid anything. I mean, nobody was. It was just a pretty bad environment to be in, and I was really unhappy, and it just wasn't the job I started 6 years ago. So, being said, I kind of got a taste of freedom when I was on furlough, and I was just like, I have so much time on my hands right now. I have a lot of savings from this unemployment that I'm getting. I just need to take advantage of this and maybe start something new. So, just in a position where I could get into real estate because that was just booming in Charlotte at the time. And I had a lot of friends. Well, actually, I just had one or two friends in real estate that were my age, just getting started on their real estate career as well. I was talking to them and just saying, I don't really know if I want to be a real estate agent. Like I'm an introvert, and I've gotten better at that, of course. But at the time, I just did not want to be an agent. I had a suggestion from a friend to just go into home inspections, and I ended up just taking the time and researching it and doing the courses and really liking it, and all this new information that I could just teach myself and go at my own pace. I kind of just started it as a side gig to supplement my income as a flight attendant because I was still flying. You know, years down the road, it just got to be too much to do both. And here I am with full time.
Being an introvert, I can't imagine, and maybe there are some real estate agents that are introverts, but I can't imagine an introvert real estate agent being, being successful. So yeah, because yeah, I envision them all being on all the time when they're showing these places. So I think you made a great decision in that respect. So talk to me about how you first got started. So when I think about someone hanging their shingle in whatever industry they're in, there's that hesitancy, the uncertainty, the do I really know enough to do well in this area? So how did you overcome that when you first stepped into it? And then how did you get your business to grow?
So I was definitely like out of my league into this home inspection industry of obviously just a male dominated industry and had zero experience in construction or real estate or anything like that. But those thoughts crossed my mind. But I also had this attitude where I just didn't even let that stop me. I just erased the doubt. And I had a massive support group. That's a huge plus on my side as well. People in my corner telling me to keep doing it. And that support, I think I just went for it. And I didn't really think that I was going to be a minority or that this was going to be an obstacle. Honestly, nose to the grindstone and just kept working and learning as much as I could and myself out there too. I mean, I was to grow my business and get my name out there before I was even licensed. I was what I could do on Instagram to get a following and continuing to learn and do modules and get licensed. And the more I posted and got feedback, the more I learned too. So I think putting yourself out there and having a support system is huge.
Sure, sure. That makes sense. One follow-up comment that I'll pass over to Smiley. You mentioned having a huge support system. I saw a glimpse of that in your mom in one of your posts where you start off with there's a leak, apparent leak in the ceiling at her house. And the way that she describes what the issue is, I'm thinking, okay, either Bailey's taught her really well, or she too is a home inspector. But she said something along the lines of, yeah, I discovered this leak. Thankfully, my daughter is an exceptional home inspector and came over and took a look at it and told me what it was, that sort of thing. So yeah, your support system is clearly intact, and I can see how that would definitely help build your confidence and that sort of things.
My parents and my whole family play a whole role in building my confidence and just
Yeah,
to keep going. So yeah, she had no idea what that leak was for, and I was there for 5 seconds and figured it out. So
sure.
it was she's great, and I taught her something new that day. So that's always nice. Teach your parents something.
Even your dad, I'm a father of a daughter. So I tease my daughter and tell her, I'll do my best not to invade your home once you grow up and move out. But even your dad was, putting WD-40 on the ladder to make it easier to open and close. I can sort of relate to that. So your support system is strong.
Yeah, I was struggling with that ladder that day, and he's like, "I got it for you." So
Well, tell me this, like, say you went from being an airline representative into home inspection. When you made that transition, how did you decide that you were going to start your own business and be entrepreneurial versus I'm going to just be an inspector of a home inspection company?
So I think there was a similarity with being a flight attendant and being an entrepreneur and starting my business, just because flexibility that I had with being a flight attendant. People don't know this, but we kind of make our own schedules. We have the ability to drop and pick up trips and stuff like that. So the whole 9 to 5 thing and reporting to somebody else just really did not sit with me well. So I always just wanted to start my own business, and the flexibility and freedom is huge for me. And I kind of just do whatever I want. And that is just so much better than going to a firm. And of course, if I went to a large firm, I would have had gotten that experience under my belt. Felt that I had all the tools and knowledge that I needed to at least get started. And I learned so much as I went, and I'm continuing to learn. So
It's fascinating. When I look at the home inspectors that would come, like I saw one of your Instagrams, they're under the house, and then sometimes they're on the roof. They're everywhere. When you look at that, like, have you encountered something under the house, like rats? It's muddy, or how do you handle that part of the job?
So I was definitely knew that that was going to be a thing for me to overcome starting this. I just kind of like don't think about it. I think a lot of people, they just dwell on the fact like, oh my God, I have to get dirty. Oh my God, I have to go under this house. But just get in and get out. Like, it's not going to kill you. You just have to be aware of your surroundings, of course. There are dangerous hazards underneath houses. Yesterday, I actually an older crawl space, but it had a brand new like vapor barrier around it and everything. And I was like, okay, somebody was just in here a couple days ago. So like all the spider webs are gone. Hopefully there's not any rodents happening. So I always love when like somebody goes in before me. Sometimes my pest guy will go in before me. So that's always nice. But yeah, I wasn't really expecting much, but as I turned the corner, I saw like a very baby copperhead, just like coiled up right on top of the vapor barrier, right in front of the furnace. So I was like, oh, this is great. You know, I have to get up close and personal with this furnace with this baby copperhead sleeping in the corner.
Which means the mom is somewhere nearby, right?
Yeah.
That was my
Where's
first
mom?
like, I actually took a picture of it and sent it to my dad, and I said, oh, mom's not anywhere nearby. And he was like, the copperhead, get out of there. So, yeah, it just kind of sat there. You know, I didn't bother it, obviously. I took my photos and quick inspection and just kept crawling. And then when I came back out of the crawl space, it was still there. So that was reassuring to know that it just didn't move the whole time I was in there.
Right. Wow.
So when I was thinking of it, I was like, would I rather crawl under a house or climb on the roof? I think I take under the house because I'm just afraid. And if I'm on top of a roof, I'm just terrified. For some reason, even on a bridge, I don't like heights. So I'm like, I would be the inspector on the ground with a drone, so I can do drone inspections. Do you do that with your roofs?
I don't actually have a drone. That's something that I might add to my tools down the road. But with iPhones these days, you could get so many great pictures from the ground. And I try and like, I'll climb out a window. I'll go up pretty high on roofs and just trek up to the second floor. So any way I can get on a roof, I'll do it. I'm not afraid of heights, so that's just not really what I think of. I'm just but as I get older, I do realize when I'm climbing that ladder, like, oh God, this is get up to the eaves. I'm like, oh, I think I've seen enough, and just back down.
Hold on.
So
Dre, Bailey just gave us a t-shirt moment. I think I'm fearless. That's a t-shirt. I think I'm fearless. That's awesome. I'm going to switch gears just a little bit because I'm in Tampa, Florida, and we just got beat up by Hurricane Helene. North Carolina, I don't know how far away you are from Asheville, but it just looks horrendous up there. As a home inspector, what do you do? Is it total devastation? Do you inspect the houses? Do you inspect the water? Is there any sort of catastrophe inspections you do on homes now?
thankfully, it was not heavily impacted, at least much as Asheville and the mountain region was. My heart goes out to all of those people. It's devastating. Unfortunately, I've never been in that position to where we've had total devastation to where I'm getting calls of like, is my home livable? I've gotten calls about, you know, after recent flooding or leak that they've discovered. I've also had a call about, you know, just tree branches coming down on houses just from heavy winds and a normal storm. So there are services that I can provide. I mean, it is sad because a lot of times there's just so much work that needs to be done to make the home livable again. So yeah, mold obviously is the huge problem and remediation and stuff like that. But really, as far as widespread devastation, I haven't run into that.
That's great. That's great. You guys, Smiley touched on climbing on roofs, things like that. You mentioned at times you'll climb out of a window. One thing that shocked me is some builders, you said, ask you to sign a document saying that you will not use a ladder and you will not climb on the roof. When I saw that, I'm like, what? You might as well say, you might as well ask the home inspector to sign a document saying, I will not inspect this house. I'll just drive by. Right. So talk to me about that. Is that even legal to ask the home inspector not to inspect your roof? What is that about?
So I mean, the builder can really up any type of document and send it out. It's their property, it's their liability. A lot of that has to do with safety. I don't think they're trying to hide anything or dismissive in our services or anything like that. I think they're worried about people, one, getting hurt on the job. And, because when we're home inspectors on a builder's site, we're liable for ourselves. We can't walk onto their site, fall off a ladder, and blame them. So I think they just want to be sure that we're insured really to be able to do that. Also think they don't want damages done. I mean, I'll go on a new construction site all the time, and all of these shingles are damaged just from trades walking on them, putting ladders on them, everything like that. So I don't think they're trying to anything in that manner, but it is a safety and liability issue for them. Regardless, I always take my ladder and I'm always looking at the shingles because that's where problems happen. And also things like they don't want you taking the electrical panel off, front cover, so that I can't tell you how many defects I've found in panels that have been signed off by a licensed electrician in new builds. So when you go into those situations, you just have to remember that your client is a buyer and you're working for the buyer and to do everything that you can to make sure that it's a safe home.
Sure, sure. So talk to me a bit about some of the work you take home with you. What I mean by that is we've had other people who are builders, surgeons, authors. The authors, for example, talk about when they just casually read a book, they can't help but find the typos. The other builder that we had said that sometimes she'll go into a home, just a friend's house, and she can't help but see how poorly things are done or how well things are done in building the home. For you, what is it you bring home? You wish that, I wish I could just turn this off. What is it that you subconsciously dealing with?
Probably like everything.
Are there that many problems?
Like I was constantly thinking about everything. I mean, not even
Yeah,
about the home, but just my business as a whole. I mean, social media, like content. One thing I wish I could turn off is just like noticing little things at people's homes. So there are also things that are just like I recently started doing indoor air sampling and really getting into that and air quality and mold and stuff like that. So now I'm just like everything in my house is like causing mold. So that's the thing that I wish I could turn off. There's information I know that I wish I didn't know.
Mm,
And it go home and drives my mom crazy too because I'll point things out that are wrong, but to her it's like total devastation, and to me it's just like little small things. Um, I mean, yeah, and if I see like moisture staining on the outside of a building, I'm just sitting there at a traffic light trying to figure out where the water's coming from. So it's distracting for sure.
how do you determine? I gotta tell these people this, like, whether it's a friend or wherever. I have to tell them what's going on. Versus, you know what? It's not my responsibility. How do you juggle that?
Always tell them.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
It's what you do. It's what you do. Yeah,
I don't care. I mean, I'm saving them something probably. I mean, to my sister's house when she bought it, and of course she lives in West Virginia, so I wasn't licensed to do that inspection, but I did it anyways when I went up there just for my own peace of mind.
yeah.
The deck was so shot. I mean, everything was wrong with this deck. I mean, there was no railing. The were rotted. Like I had to tell her, like those are my nieces walking on that deck. So,
Yeah.
um, and of course, and a lot of people get home inspections done, whether it's through me or someone else. They don't always take our recommendations and actually have things fixed. So
Mm,
I think it's important to properly communicate things that are like, oh, this can wait till after closing, or like you need to get this done now. So that's what happened in my sister's case. She had an inspector come out here and inspect the deck, and I'm sure he saw the same things I did because it was obvious. Have
mm.
it fixed. I'm like, what are you waiting for?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's like, we can't enforce anything, but I still try to.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, I want to go over a couple of services you offer real quick, and just give me a kind of a summary of what that service is. I think I have a good sense, but for our viewers and listeners that are curious about what home inspectors do. So, for the residential inspection that you do, quick summary of what that is exactly. What do you cover? What could the client expect to get from you?
So that is our general home inspection, standalone service, and it's inspection that is done by the standards of practice from North Carolina. So we have a guidelines that we follow from the North Carolina board, what items we have to check, and what items we are not required to check. So most of that is just roof, exterior siding, exterior appliances are normally included. The one appliance that we have to check is the dishwasher. We have to run that for a full cycle just to make sure that it's not leaking. The HVAC systems, electrical wiring, plumbing, crawl space, any visible areas of the structure that we can get into, we look at those too. Foundation, drainage, side of the property, just trees and what trees may cause damage if it were to fall or on your roof. So pretty extensive action. I mean, we turn the whole house inside out. We for everything, windows, doors,
Okay.
sectors, all of that.
Okay. Let's say you walk into a house, turn the dishwasher on as soon as you walk in, because it takes I don't know, an hour to, and you do your other stuff while the dishwasher's running. You come back and there's a pool of water in the kitchen. What do you do?
The dishwasher off. To my truck, grab a towel, and clean it up.
Okay, so you're not so you don't. I guess in terms of responsibility, all you would do in that case is just say, "Hey guys, there's a huge problem. Here's water. You clean it up, and then let them know so they'll deal with it." Right?
So first, I'll let the homeowner know just so that but that is a standard process in our job. So
Sure, makes
I didn't
sense.
run the dishwasher, leaked. My client would have moved in day one, run the dishwasher, and it was leaking, and then
Yeah.
I get a phone call. So that's kind of just part of it. I mean, I let the
Okay.
homeowner know as a courtesy so that they know, and then I let the buyer know so that it can be fixed. But both parties are completely understanding when things like that happen, hopefully.
Okay. Next one is a multifamily inspection, which I'm guessing is very similar to residential. It's just you do up to a quadplex. That's the biggest you do. Is that right?
Now, yes, since I am a single inspector, I'll just do 4 units. That's duplex, multifamily homes, plexes, and quadplexes. So
Okay.
it's the same as residential, but times two, times three, times four.
Okay. And then the pre-drywall inspection, I'm guessing, is where at first I was wondering what is that. Now I looked further on your website, and what it is essentially is where the studs. It's just the studs and the electrical have been put in. You look for cracks in your 2x4s. You look for make sure the wiring's done correctly, that sort of thing. What am I missing there? And is that correct?
That is a very crucial inspection that a lot of people don't always have done. So that's done during your phase of construction of your new home before drywall goes up. So we have to catch these problems prior to drywall because when it becomes a problem after that, you have to take the drywall down. It's expensive. It takes a lot of work to do that to fix those problems. So I go in, I check that all the plumbing is inside the wall lines, the electrical is well stapled, so that there aren't any broken trusses, twisted studs, truss cords. Everything is buried properly. Structure well. So it is a very technical inspection, and it's extremely important to have done. We are framers and county inspectors that go in and these inspections done for the builder, but it's always a good idea to have a third party inspection because it's just another set of eyes. I do catch inspector. We catch things that a lot of the county and framers don't always see.
Okay. And there's a couple others, but the last one I want to touch on, I'll pass it over to Smiley here, is what is the WDIR?
That is wood destroying insect report. So that is basically a termite inspection. And a lot of North Carolina home inspectors aren't actually licensed to do a termite inspection. So we have to sub that out. I actually sub that out through a contractor who goes out and does the termite inspections. And basically like a yes or no inspection, whether there's termites, there have been termites in the past and it's inactive now. if there's no or preventative measures that have been made ever.
Okay. Smiley.
So you described so much, every aspect of the house, from electrical to HVAC to wood to carpentry. Have you ever looked at something and from your many inspections and say, you know what, I could see myself being an electrician, or I could see myself doing the plumbing or the termite inspection, or it's just no, you just know it all, but you don't have any desire to do any of it?
I mean, I'm sure it would be nice, but I kind of like where I'm at right now, just
Yeah.
some things out and yeah. Um, I mean, electricians and plumbers, they do great work all the time. So I'll leave that up to them. It's just great knowledge to have, just as a buyer or anyone really. So I'm thankful for the knowledge that I have.
And when you do these inspections, what's your technology like? For example, you're very present on Instagram and technologies and different things like that. When you do the inspection, is it paper and clipboard, or do you have some sort of software where, because you mentioned an iPhone to take the photos, but is it a digital inspection when you're documenting your information, or is it all on paper and pencil, and then you put it to Excel or put it into a computer later?
Thankfully, it is all digital. So I have a software that I use and a lot of home inspectors use. It's called Spectora. It's an app on my phone, essentially. And I pretty much just go through the whole house. I take photos and I write my report on my phone, essentially. I talk to text as well. So that makes things easier. That's kind of like the advantage to using Spectora and doing everything digital, is because my report is much instant. I have it ready by the time I leave the property. So there's very little turnaround. I mean, people are waiting a day or two for their home inspection reports, and I just can't fan them back. So everything is digitalized. Makes it very easy.
So you're a real-time inspector. That is so cool.
Yeah, real time. That's right.
She's a real-time inspector. That's awesome. So when you think of it like this, you're doing your inspections, and I was really interested in your Instagram. I was listening to you on another podcast, and you mentioned that you're part of a team. Like all the other real estate people, they they refer to you, or they recommend you and different things like that. A lot of times when we had real estate investors on, they would always talk about they build their team, they got their appraisals, they got their first. So are you part of a team like that? Or are you like, all right, I'm part of this real estate, Dre and Smiley real estate group. Anything they buy, I'm their inspector, and it just grows like that? Or
So
how is
it's different. It's different from agent to agent. I'm a preferred vendor on a lot of real estate teams here in Charlotte, so that's helpful. They don't let anybody in there. It's not like they saw me on Instagram and said, "Oh, let's use her." You have to be referred and vetted to go and to really work for a large team like that. I am a preferred vendor for most people, or for most agents and teams around here that I work with. There's also other home inspectors who are vendors of that team as well. So a lot of times agents will your information to pass on to their clients, and then their clients make the decision on what home inspector they want to use, whether it's based off experience, price, referrals, anything like that. So it takes a while to get to that point too, because like I said, you have to be referred. So if I worked with one agent because she saw me on Instagram and wanted to give me a shot, let's say we do two more together, and she's like, I really want to bring you in for my team. Maybe you could do a lunch and learn. So that's kind of how I built my business as well, is earning that trust. And I mean, you're not going to get referred unless you earn someone's trust. So put the work in to be able to do that.
so as an introvert, what's the most challenging? Is it the actual doing the inspection, or the network and marketing business side, doing the invoices and all this other stuff? What is the easiest and the hard for you as an introvert?
The easiest part is to just show up to the house and do my job. This is when I am the most focused, relaxed, and like just calm. Of course, marketing and networking is a huge part of my business, and I don't do as much of that as I used to. I did have to when I first started. So the lunch and learns, a few of those, and God, I hate, I mean, I didn't hate them, but it was, like I said, I'm an introvert. So getting up there and speaking in front of people is just awful to me. I, and I'm in a room full of those agents who have used me before. So like, it's comforting that some of them were there for these lunch and learns just so that I'm like, okay, I know these people know how well I do my job. So if I'm up here and I just totally blow my presentation, that's not a reflection on being a poor home inspector. It's just, I definitely prefer just to be in the home doing my job and inspecting. I mean, I find peace in that the most.
I
Nice.
find it so amazing because I'm totally opposite. I'm a sales guy. I'm an extrovert on an extreme level. But when I look at your Instagrams, it's no way you could tell that. I mean, you're like so natural.
Yeah, it's taken definitely time and practice to get myself to that point too, and gaining a lot of confidence in this industry. I read a book that I just want to put out there. It's called Get Different. And once I read that book, it all kind of came together that you just have to be your most authentic self. You're trying to market your Instagram. So that, and I read that book and I was just like, I just need to be myself and be different. And that's already an advantage to me because I'm a female home inspector. So I rolled with that and got comfortable.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I agree with Smiley. Your Instagram posts, TikTok posts, what comes across that what comes across is that you're super knowledgeable and comfortable with what you're doing. So yeah, social media is definitely the ticket to get your name out there. So I want to get your thoughts on what should these people look for in their home inspection report to ensure that this is a good buy. Just maybe one or two things they want to just look at immediately to get a sense of, hey, this is a good buy. So for the home buyer, just an everyday home buyer, what's one or two things they want to look at pretty quickly to get a sense of, is this a good buy?
The biggest thing is how well the home is maintained overall. So anything from how the gutters are installed, if they're draining properly away from the home, all the way down to the crawl space, a good vapor barrier, and having it sealed and there being no moisture levels. I can always almost tell how well maintained a home is when I step into it. So it's, having vegetation trimmed away from the home, just like things that you can see that, okay, this person who has lived here has maintained this home and they care about it. So I think that's a
Okay.
huge thing. And that's something that is pretty visible in the first 10 minutes of entering a home.
Okay. And the vapor barrier, is that something as simple as just having plastic down in the crawl space, covering up the
So any
ground?
type of plastic or material down on the crawl space floor that helps with moisture levels and keeps water away from the foundation. If there were a plumbing leak or any or drainage issues in the crawl space, it'll keep water from going into the soil, which can cause structural issues.
It was so yeah, when you mentioned the maintenance, I remember going back years. I think it was 91 or 92. Must have been 91. I bought my first home. No one tells you how to maintain a home, and I feel embarrassed to say this today, but the electricity switched off or something. I'm like, something's wrong with the electricity. And then my neighbor, who was an elderly guy back then, he comes over, he goes to the electric box and hits the switch. No one told me that I had a circuit breaker, and this is all you need to do. I was on my way to be an electrician. He's like, no, he went to the box and hit the button. I mean, he switched it and boom, boom, and the lights came back on. But no one tells you you need to do this. The
That's
second one, I'm from Pittsburgh and I moved to Florida. Well, I was here in 2001. You're from Pittsburgh or from Braddock? Where are you from? No way.
Yeah.
Key Rock. Awesome. Well, so I moved down here at home in Pittsburgh. We have boilers, but we have window units. It's not that hot to have ACs. I'm here for about 2 years in Florida, Bailey, and no one told me to change the little filter in the AC unit. This thing was blacker than black. And I'm like, what's wrong with this thing? And my neighbor,
right.
the other neighbor, he pulled it out. It's like, dude, you got to change this every 30 days. I was like, I've been here 24 months. No one told me. That I was just like, no one tells you how to maintain a house. And that would probably be a nice course for someone or just anyone who buys a house. These are the things you need to do weekly, monthly, like a master sanitation list or master maintenance list. But Does that exist, or have you seen
Well,
that, Bailey?
sure, it's out there somewhere, but those little things are something that is included on my report, home
Oh,
inspection
awesome.
report. So that goes for most home inspectors as well. So don't just give you a report of everything that is wrong with the house. We also give you that need to be maintained, which is super important for first-time home buyers to know. Also, people who said move from different areas of the world who aren't familiar with what things need to be done to maintain a properly healthy home here in Charlotte. So those, filters, I put that on my report time. I photo of where it's located, when you need to change it, that. So and same with the dishwasher drain line that gets clogged up and that needs changed. Downspouts, it's just little things that can be done to maintain a home, and as much information as I can on things like that on my report as well, just so that they know that.
Nice, nice. Okay, next couple. Someone buying a renovated property. What's one or two things they want to make sure to look for on their home inspection report?
A flip, you mean?
Yeah, a
Yeah,
lot of those in Charlotte.
which is a good thing. I mean, it's nice to see people investing money in these properties up to better
Sure.
standards. But so a lot of time when I go into a flip, you open the door, it's beautiful, renovated on the inside. Even the outside has curb appeal, but then you go in the crawl space and they haven't even touched it. So if you're going and viewing a home, especially a flip, at least open the crawl space door and take a peek inside. Use your senses, take a look, see if you can hear water dripping anywhere, if you can smell mildew or moisture, things like that. So they're the biggest things I come into when buying a flipped property is spend all of their money on the inside and making it nice, but the crawl space is soaking wet and the foundation's crumbling. So
Yeah.
those are things to
Okay.
look out for.
Great, great. Well, you mentioned the smell of mildew and things like that. Something that surprised me is there's this product you probably heard of called Kills, which can hide smells. Where you can, if you have mold and mildew, you can paint the wall with this stuff and then paint over it, and you'll never smell it again. One, it kind of surprised me that product exists because what you're doing is just covering up the problem and not addressing it. But so yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Make sure that you're, using your sense of smell, looking on the crawl space. Those are things that people probably don't consider when they're buying a flip. One last question for you, then I'll pass it over to Smiley here to kick off the final four. So, what is that one experience that you've had since you've started this business, Swell, that just blew your mind? That one thing that stands out like, whoa, I have to put this in my book when I write my autobiography.
So as I'm just going to go with the support that I've received continues to blow my mind. Okay. So the support from community, other real estate agents who refer me every day, and that blows my mind. That's probably the biggest thing about this is the people who have taken a shot on me and a chance on me, and absolutely no reason to do so first started. So
Sure.
that I think blows my mind. I mean, I had a client of mine invite me to do this lunch and learn with these agents probably like 5 years ago when my business was really starting to take a turn. I swear that made all the difference in my company because that whole room of agents to this day. So just something that they all just took a shot on me and they continue to use me. And it was just blew my mind because I'm out of my league here. I don't have experience in the home inspection industry when I first started. So just having an open mind and trusting me and giving me a shot, that blew my mind.
Love it. Love it. Well, I love your perspective, Bailey. You're very, it's more than optimistic, but I love your outlook. And last question, Swell. Where'd the name Swell come from?
It came from I love to surf. That is the one thing that I do
Ah,
outside of work is surf. So
okay.
I lived on the coast of North Carolina for a while after college, and then I also grew up near the ocean because my parents always had a home in South Carolina on the coast. So recently started surfing, got a few years ago, and have gotten really well. And now it's kind of my escape from work and how I just think Swell is a great name, and I try to provide a swell service as well. So we went with that.
Well, I think you're
Like
swell,
it.
Bailey.
Yeah, you are.
I appreciate it.
Well,
It's fitting. So
Yes, yes.
before we move into the final four, is there any question that we didn't ask you that we should have asked you?
I don't think so. I'm kind of anxious for this final four.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right, Bailey. The first final four question. What is something that never fails to make you laugh? Side holding, tear flowing laughter.
Probably just being surrounded by my close friends and family, like just being off with them. Nieces, they crack me up all the time. I mean, I am sometimes just so focused on my work all week long, and then if I have time to see them, they just make me laugh. Just a guarantee that when I'm with them, they're going to make me laugh. So probably just my family and my nieces and spending time with them and goofing off.
Love it. What's the best compliment you've ever received?
Really just people always tell me I have a huge heart. So that's a big compliment I think that I've received, and that carries me professionally and emotionally and personally through my life. So just having a huge heart and giving everything that I have to others, and that's kind of a big compliment.
As a business, a successful business owner, an entrepreneur, alive or dead, who would you want to spend 24 hours with business wise?
Probably this entrepreneur, Cody Sanchez.
Yeah.
She's a
You know
female.
Cody?
Yeah, I know Coach. I don't know her personally, but I know her through
Yeah,
social media. She's a beast.
she is just a ass. She is a female entrepreneur and she's just crushing it, and gained her fame and success from buying these small, boring businesses. She's just a wealth of knowledge. I mean, I listen to her podcast. I follow her on Instagram. I recommend anybody who's starting a business to follow her because she's just a wealth of knowledge. I would just spend 24 hours with her and pick her brain.
What's the biggest risk you've ever taken?
Probably quitting my job as a flight attendant. Quit in June of 2022, I believe. So that was about 2 years ago. And it was, I knew I was going to be okay, but it was still pretty terrifying to give up a steady paycheck, health benefits, 1K. Of course, I have all of those things now, but
Yeah.
getting rid of that very daunting, and it was definitely a risk that I took, and I went without those things for a couple years until I could really, not a couple years, maybe a couple months until I could get on my feet and know that I was going to be okay, to pay myself same, if not more, salary that I was making as a flight attendant.
Bailey, this has been amazing. I love your authenticity. I think you said that earlier. That is so present in this conversation. So thank you for taking time out on your weekend to share your wisdom, your experience, and your courage. Because really, to leave a job and just you stood out on your own faith and confidence, and I just think that's so impressive and inspiring. So thank you for your time.
So much. It has been great to talk with you guys. I've enjoyed this so much. So I appreciate
Yeah.
y'all.
Bailey, I'll tell you this. I want to move to Charlotte just to buy a house so you could expect it. I feel like, because buying a house is such a huge purchase, right? And you feel uncertain and everything. But after, there's people like you that exist out there that are thorough, they do the job well, it's that type of thing. For those of you listening in Charlotte, check out Bailey and Swell Home Inspections. She definitely clearly knows what she is doing and does it well. So yeah, thanks for your time, Bailey.
Guys,
We
I appreciate
appreciate it.
it.